Alright, so let's try this again. It's with a little less wind. And here I was explaining yesterday how glass in front of an eye of a camel, it's like those sunglasses that are built into its skull. And we're going to touch on more stuff like this, like eating appliances, in just one bit. But the build up to it is something that is astronomically something that needs to get crystallized. And that is that which, when there is a person with Asperger's, and I'm not trying to cover for them, there's a lot of them that are mean and make a living getting off on it. But with this being said, is people with Asperger's, sounds, and this is autism too, sounds make them go into a schizophrenic. And this is like nails on a chalkboard. And I think it's just wherever it comes to like eating, and you don't like sounds of plates clicking. I don't like sounds of plates clicking either. This is what I just did, what a dog did. Whenever a dog owner has like a walk with a dog and there's another person on the sidewalk like me, they always have the dog sit when I'm passing them by. And so with that giant car passing me by, there's no sidewalks. Of course, it's not dug out. And so then I went and I stayed in a prone position as the bigger object moved. Look at it, I'll do it again. This will be funny. And it's always the owner's eyes. You look at the owner and they look so like quaint, as if they're doing a prestigious thing with the dog, and like it's like, oh, roll out the red carpet for this guy. And Asperger's or autism people, it comes to like just with dining. And so like when dining, this is what most movies they focus on, is having like this scene of eating, because it's where dialogue and rubber hits the road for dialogue per se. And so when all these movies are glorifying that, it's the catch-22 where the guy who played Joker, Joaquin Phoenix, he was on David Letterman and he was just making a mockery out of David Letterman, asking him what did he eat for like Thanksgiving. And it is such a mockery because no one likes talking about or listening to what someone ate. But that's important, is because it turns the cheek. You know, it's the same thing that's being glorified in movies, but then when you're talking about it, like, and you're not eating, it's 10 times less enthusiastic. It's just like when you have a flower, a tulip, and then you are taking it out of its natural environment. You don't flip it in front of a window, and all of a sudden it knows that it's not rotating on the globe and it's not being turned around naturally. This is the problem where if you take a body part of something, like the skin, and you throw it into the woods, that's what I was trying to explain yesterday, it's going to get dirtier than if that skin was bare on the animal in the woods, because it doesn't have these things acting upon it. And this is where with weird surface tension, if you look through like a scope, it's going to look really clear. But if you're making that scope into like different shapes of a circle, it's doing a weird surface tension on the framing, and so you might get a different effect. That's super important, is because the headiest thing I can think of is where these people, they shrink heads after they're cut off. And so this is kind of interesting because like you're removing the thing, and barreling into my last example. An example with the dirty hide in the forest is easier to reconcile, but it gets harder and harder when it comes to the same accord that's just one in the pictorials. There's quantum electrodynamics. This is the closest thing to reality that all of humanity has ever completed in explaining what existence is. And so it's just got these scribbles, a little trapezoidal shape, and more squiggles. but there's a few array of them. There's a few of them. And so then also in chemistry, you're going to have these bond pictures where it's like there's, of course, these bonds of different chemicals and they all have their shapes. And they're all basically lines with circles. And so when you have these pictorials, they're in representation of existence, but the caveat is they're nowhere near complete when you're combining both of them together. And so with what I'm trying to do is explain how like the shape of a puppet and its strings are pictorial. And this is the most craziest thing, but if you're actually using it with an accuracy, with like how appliances can be things that are 8 and hopscotches is like any moves that you're doing. It isn't too far to say, and so that's the route I'm gonna make. And it's at a point of which we're like, if someone takes it and utilizes it, you know, you can't be like, oh, I had a patent on this stuff. No, it's like once you get a massive step forward, you're supposed to share that. And that's what really was missing in the moon landing. But Neil Armstrong's like, this is a giant leap for mankind. He didn't share that like with anyone. You know, it's like now we got pictures of stuff that go up there. This leads me into my other thing. And it's even more far-fetched, but totally aligned. It's where there's all the space junk that's orbiting planet Earth. And so like it's carrying like its own momentum. And so it's got like these magnetospheres coming off of it. And those are subjectively interfering with the magnetospheres of Earth. And so that's a problem because it brings the solar radiation having different shapes hitting planet Earth. And they're all like really small, so it makes it as like these super like perturbations. And so I thought when looking at people, you see that same kind of thing. And our sun's whiter than ever because we've got spraying pesticides in the air from jet fuels. And so you put that trifecta together, and it's no wonder my eyes are hurting in the sun, and I want sunglasses like a camel having glass eyes sunglasses. And so there's that, and then there's that fits honestly like a glove when it comes to QED. And the other thing in representation I thought is with molecules, and I thought whenever you look at someone, you're like looking at their genes. And so you're seeing like their whole ancestry, like if you're really liking them or not. Even though you can't see it, I think like subliminally, that's what you're doing when you're looking at everyone and you're reading it. And that could be fitting with the drawings of chemicals, bonds, and chemistry. And that would be like